Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Abby. I'm with Fitness is Medicine. I'm going to give you another workout to do in your home today. Today, all you're going to need is a band or a tube. Up high, we're going to do a lat pull down, so maybe a little bit heavier of a band if you have it, and a set of dumbbells, and a fit ball if you have it. Not necessary, but if you have it, we can use that today. And a chair that you can do sit-to-stands in, so like a firm kitchen chair or bench or something like that, preferably not a sofa. Tubby came to help today. Hi, Tubby. All right, so we're gonna, remember, you wanna start with a good warm-up, so if you haven't done that, go ahead and press pause, go out, do 5 to 10 minutes of some sort of cardio, get your heart rate up, get those muscles ready to work. Okay, so I've got my band up here in a higher position, so we're going to sit down on the ground for a lat pull down. Tubby, no, come on. So when you get into this position, you want to have your back nice and tall, your shoulders are down and pulled back, and you're going to take these and pull them towards your armpits. So when you go back up, you don't want your shoulders to come up next to your ears. You want to keep those shoulders down away from your ears and think about squeezing those shoulder blades down and together as you pull those bands towards your armpits. Remember to breathe. And notice that I've doubled up my bands here today. That's a good way to add more resistance if you don't have a strong enough band. So I doubled up my bands to make this one a little bit harder. This one is hard to sit further back because I want you to be pulling down versus, here as a row. So I want you sitting up tall and pulling down. Let's do 2 more. And 10, good, okay. Next we're gonna do some sit to stands from a good firm chair. So I'm gonna move this over just a little. I'm gonna use my bench over here. What I wanna do with your sit to stands today is mix it up just a little bit. If you're able, I wanna give a little bit more of a challenge today. So instead of sitting down and standing up like we do, which is a great exercise. The reason I love sit to stand so much is that it's a really good squat form. So it forces you into a good, proper form. So what I want to do today for a little bit more challenge is stand up, lower slowly, barely touch, and then come back up. So you're going to sit just like you're going to sit down, you feel it, and you stand back up. So this makes those muscles work even harder. So they're not going to sit. Really work on that eccentric control. You can stagger your feet a little. I recommend that, especially if anybody's having knee pain. You can stagger your feet a little. It can also make it easier to stand up out of a chair. So it gives you, it keeps your center of gravity easier to move forward because you've already got 1 foot back. So nice and slow. Just barely sit down. Notice I put my hands forward when I do squats because it gives me kind of a counterbalance. If you need to put your hands here just to be sure, that's okay. And if this is just too much for you, go ahead and sit down and stand up. Use those hands if you need to. This is just an added challenge for this exercise. I don't know how many we've done. We'll do 2 more. Feel that chair and then stand back up. Slowly lower and then stand back up. All right, good. Next, we're going to use a set of dumbbells for a shoulder press. So grab the weight you feel is necessary for that. I'm going to have you sit on a ball. If you don't have a ball, you can sit on your bench or your chair that you were just using. Remember to use good form, picking up your weights. I've got mine right here, ready to go. So sit up nice and tall on that ball. If you have trouble balancing on a ball, it's okay to put this next to a wall so you can roll back onto it and use that as a little bit more balance. I want you to bring your weights up to your shoulders, and we're going to alternate. So we're going to do an alternating chest or shoulder press. If this bothers your shoulders, you can bring it in here and press forward. Nice and slowly both directions. When you do the alternating, you actually force your muscles to work a little bit harder, because when they go together, it's easier for them to compensate and help each other. It's still a good exercise. So if this is too much, go ahead and go with the double. I don't know how many I've done. When you go up and down, be sure, keep going if you're doing these, be sure to keep your back nice and tall, and that you're not arching like this to get it up. If you're doing that, you need a lighter weight. We're going to do one more on each side. All right, good. Make sure you're breathing each time and never hold your breath. So usually you breathe out on the exertion, but if you're having a hard time coordinating that, it's just important to breathe, period. Okay, next we're going to stand up on a step. I've got my little step stool here that I'm going to use. And we're going to do some calf raises, just using a step. You don't have to use a step for this one. You can just do it on the ground. This just adds a little bit more difficulty. So we're going to have you lower off the back and slowly go up and down this way. So I'm using my treadmill here as a little bit of a balance. If you're doing it on the bottom of a stair, you can, use the railing. I'd rather have you be safe and make sure you're staying balanced and you're not going to slip off. It's important, this is working your feet and ankles and calf muscles. Important to keep those strong for balance and to avoid falls. We're going slowly, nice and slowly, both directions. 8, I think, 9, and 10. Good. Okay, following this, I'm going to have you sit on your bench or your chair, and you can do this anywhere. This is a really good one to do. I'm actually going to put my foot up on this ball so you can see. And this is something you can do too, unless it's too much for your hamstrings. But if you have a bench, like a coffee table, sitting and just having your foot off the end like this, I'm going to put both of mine up so I can work both of them. It might be difficult for you depending on what you have at home, but you still want to be sitting up nice and tall. We're going to do some ankle circles. So we're going to go one direction. That's actually hard for me because that thing gets in the way. We're going to go one direction for 10 times. And this is a great thing to do for ankle range of motion and ankle strengthening. So that's kind of my theme today with a few of these exercises. Now we're going to go 10 in the opposite direction. Do this with both feet. So take the time, press pause, and make sure you do this with both feet. I'm just going to demonstrate with one here. And then point and flex. These are all really great range of motion, like I said, and strengthening exercises for your feet and ankles. So if you have any history of ankle injury, these are really good to do. And then the last one you can do, if you're sitting on your sofa at night watching a movie or something, these are all really good. You can just hang your feet off the end of the sofa or up off the end of your footstool or recliner or whatever you're sitting in, and do these. The other thing you can do is spell the alphabet. So you might want to just focus on one foot at a time for the alphabet, but you can, just kind of pretend like your toe has a marker on it and you're going to spell the alphabet. So you can do uppercase, lowercase, cursive, whatever you want to do. And the other thing you can do is change it up. So one night do, all uppercase, the next night do cursive, something like that. Okay, those are all easy to do anywhere. Okay, next we're going to lower to the ground and do a side plank. So remember that you can always do this on an elevated surface like your bench or a chair with a pillow on it or something. I'll show you the different variations. If you know your variation, get right into it so that you're getting your time in for your side plank here. I'm going to kind of go through a couple variations. So you hold the plank that you know that you can do. So to begin with, you can go up on one knee like this. Importantly, you want your elbow below your shoulder. And then you want to think about having your hips and shoulders stacked, meaning right on top of each other. So you're not leaning forward like this. This is pretty common with a side plank. Stack those shoulders and hips. So in order to get this, get your shoulders and hips stacked, you may need to put a leg down, and that's okay. So I've got one knee down. I'm still working my obliques, working my side. The next level up, sort of, is to put one foot in front. So your top foot goes in front of your back foot, of your bottom foot, I mean. So this is the next level. And then the good thing about these next two levels is if you get really tired when you're in the middle of them, you can just put one knee down. You don't have to come completely out, but it's good to get that shoulder stabilization. If you are having shoulder pain, bring it up a level, but do it on a bench or something like that. Let's switch sides. So work on each side for about 30 seconds. These are really hard. The next level up you can do here is to do it up with your feet stacked. So your feet are stacked, your knees are stacked, your hips are stacked, your shoulders are stacked. Importantly, make sure your elbow is directly beneath your shoulders. So you can put one arm up like this, or just keep it here, keep it here. Try not to roll forward like this. If you feel the need to do that, remember, drop that lower knee. Keep breathing. This does get hard, but like I said, if it's too much, drop one knee. Or look, take it up to, this is one you could do on a sofa because it's got a softer, depending on, you know, what your sofa looks like as far as how cushy it is, but maybe a firmer sofa might be a good way to do this, just a level up, so giving you a raised surface to do it off of. Okay, do each of those for 30 seconds. If you feel the need to, you can hold them for longer, of course. You can always do them from your hand as well, but lots of people have wrist pain with that, which is why I don't generally demonstrate it. But if you do want to do it from your hand, it's the same thing. You just want to make sure your hand is directly below your shoulder and you're holding that. Shoulders stacked, hips stacked throughout. Okay, we've got one more to do. We're going to stand up and do one more balance exercise. So this is also going to be challenging to your calves. So we're kind of focusing on that with a few of these today. What I want you to do is stand in a tandem stance. Do this next to a railing or something if you need to. So I'd rather have you somewhere where you can grab on, like the kitchen sink or something like that. Tandem stance, which we've done quite a bit. What I want you to do is we're going to rock forward onto your toes and then back. You don't necessarily have to go all the way on your toes and heels, but even just changing like a weight shift from your front foot to your back foot. That's where you can start with this. And then you can add more. You can go onto your toes and then onto your heels. Trying to keep that tandem stance. Getting more range of motion for those ankles, getting that good strengthening in your feet and ankles. All of these are really important for balance and to avoid falls. Having that good lower extremity strength. And you can either count, you can go back and forth 10 times, or you can hold it for about 30 seconds or so. All right, switch sides, get set. And then remember, you can just start with a good weight shift, forward and back. And if that feels doable, you can add a little bit more range of motion, up onto your toes, back onto your heels. Really trying to keep stable. If this is just way too much for you, you can just hold that tandem stance. The other thing you can do is if you want to try a little bit different, is you can stagger your feet for this as well. So it gives you a little bit wider base of support. But back and forth, nice and slowly. All right. So like I said, work on each side for about 30 seconds. And then you can repeat. So go ahead and do these through 1 or 2 more times. If you want to, you can make your workout longer and add, 5 minutes of cardio in between each set, and really follow with a good stretch and cool down when you're done. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week.